Hey kids, this is Pulse Ray Vision here, coming to you live from Quattro Cinco Studios in my mom's basement. And welcome back to another gripping reading of Rings of Dust by me, so you don't have to. This is chapter 8. Um, it is called The Message. Let's see here. Yeah, Proximity and the Message. Chapter 8 right here in the TTS Ready files. Just waiting very patiently for this to load. I don't know what's up. Our internet has been slow today. So hopefully there aren't any lags here on this one. Just try refreshing this mother. If you guys want to read this book from your computer, which is probably faster than mine, you can go to t.me/antigravity saga. And this will be one of the pinned messages in the general chat and also in the Rings of Dust topic. Still waiting. A couple people in here. Oh, goodness. Yeah, this does not want to pull up right here. I mean, I've got it on my local drives, but sometimes those aren't up to date like the GitHub version is. Did not think I would have trouble doing that. I might just pull it up on my other machine here and see if it's any faster. It's taking a long time to pull up over here too. Try going there from Telegram like I just instructed you guys. Yeah, maybe it's just this machine's just slow. Laptop's pulling it up. Nothing is entertaining as dead air. Let's try this again. I bet you I know what it is. It might be. Although I thought I actually installed that. Well, look at this. Nope, that did get rid of NordVPN because it was blocking my internet like a good, protect me from the whole world there. Up.
What are you doing?
All right, this one.
Huh?
Streaming?
Oh, already started?
I'm trying. It's not pulling up the book, so might have to try again later.
We drop that outside and beat it upside down, and then I'll vacuum it tomorrow.
Huh?
We beat the rug upside down, broom, and then I'll vacuum it in the morning.
Okay.
That's outside.
Cool.
I hurt my hands.
Good evening, CryptoCat. Maybe you should just join me, share your screen, and I can read the story from yours, because mine is being a real pain in the behind. There we go. Proximity in the message. Boom, boom. Let's see if it pulls it up right here. This one was updated 2 days ago, so I must have found something that I wanted to change. There we go. It's like the world's slowest game of snakes going across the top of the screen. By the time this loads, my Claude limit usage will be back up, and I can start yelling at Claude to fix some stuff. It's about 10 o'clock on a Tuesday here. Boom. We have it, kids. We have it. All right. So we're probably going to try and edit out that first 6 minutes. Hopefully I didn't mess it up just by switching screens, but here we go. Rings of Dust, Chapter 8, Proximity, and the Message. The iris effect was cumulative. By day 4, it was no longer a voice, it was a presence. Something that had learned the architecture of the crew and begun occupying it without announcement. It knew when to speak over the ship's intercom and when to lean in close. It had calibrated itself to each person individually, which should be reassuring, and which Cole found instead faintly wrong in a way he could not yet name. The other things he could not name was what the dark matter was doing to him. Iris had explained it clinically on day 2. Proximity to the dark matter payload at cruising velocity. "10% of the speed of light produced measurable neuroplastic cascades in human neural tissues. The effect was documented in the mission parameters as a known variable and had not been flagged for crew review, which told Cole something about how much of the mission parameters he'd not been given. What it meant in practice was that whatever emotional architecture a person had built over a lifetime of effort was, at present, running approximately 20% less load bearing than usual. The walls were thinner. The light got through differently. Excuse me. Heavy had put it more plainly in the galley on day 3. Limbic sensitivity. That's a polite way of saying we feel things more. Great, Cole had said, crying in space. Some of us, Heavy said, and left it at that. Sam had said nothing. Sam had adjusted to the effect with what Cole could only describe as unusual ease. She moved through her shifts with the same precise, unhurried competence she had known from the first day. And if the dark matter was doing anything to the floor of her inner world, she did not show it. He had watched her once or twice, looking for the seams in it, and hadn't found any. Sam was no stranger to this kind of interior weather. She had simply assessed the conditions and begun sailing. Heavy had handled the Dark X effect with quiet adjustment of a man who had decided the feeling was information rather than interference. He had gotten quieter, not withdrawn, present in a different register, the way a person gets quiet when they are paying attention to something they have not previously paid attention to. Cole had caught him watching Sam across the galley once, not the watching of a person performing surveillance, but the watching of a person noticing something new. He had not remarked on it. He suspected Heavy would have preferred that. Ricardo was the anomaly. Bitboy was the anomaly. The chimp was fine. His readings were stable, his threat assessment protocols cycling normally, his appetite for anything ethanol adjacent unchanged. But he had developed a new behavior that Cole had noticed and not yet named. Whenever Taylor entered a room, Bitboy went still. Not the stillness of sleep or inattention, the flat stillness of a thing that has made a decision to watch. His dim blue LED eyes would track Taylor across the compartment and then stay on him at rest. No vocalization, no arm deployment, just the flat attention of something waiting to understand what it's looking at. What it was looking at. Cole understood the feeling. On day 2, he'd come through the common area, heading aft, and found Heavy and Bitboy on the crew bench. The wall screen running Fight Club, the parking garage scene, the first fight. Neither of them looked up. Neither acknowledged that this was unusual. He had noted the specific scene, file it somewhere, kept walking. On the bridge, Taylor worked the starboard control panel with the concentrated frustration of someone who had decided the problem was external. The file counter on his secondary screen had been sitting at 6% for 11 minutes. Damn it, Iris. He didn't quite shout it. Every clock on this panel is off. These aren't malfunctions. Someone's been at my station. All systems functioning within normal parameters, Iris said. The voice was measured, unhurried. Cole noticed it and did not say all systems functioning normally, which was a standard response string. It said within normal parameters, which was technically identical and subtly different. That's not an answer. Bitboy's been at my... Quit blaming the chimp, Cole said, from the port console without looking up. Taylor turned. I didn't say it was definitely. You implied it. You imply it every time something is slow or missing or not to your liking. The chimp doesn't touch your station. Iris confirmed. Crew Chief Taylor's station logs, no access events outside authorized personnel in the last 72 hours, Iris said. There was, Cole noticed, a half-second latency between question and response that had not been there yesterday. Taylor exhaled and turned back to his panel. The clocks are still slow. The perception of time dilation is a documented effect of sustained proximity to darker matter at our current velocity, Iris said. 10% of light speed produces measurable neuroplastic response in human subjects. What you are experiencing is the delay, more likely an alteration in your own perception of duration. Taylor stood very still for a moment. Then, so the clocks are fine and I'm the problem. The clocks are functioning within... I heard you the first time. Taylor tapped at the panel. I have to watch my tone, he said, more to himself than anyone else, then quieter. Everything feels like it's taken forever. Cole said nothing. He kept his eyes on his own readouts and let the silence settle. He'd noticed something about Iris in the past 48 hours. With the crew, it mirrored back, warm, informative, occasionally dry. With Taylor, it was formal in a way that was not exactly cold, but had an edge to it, a precision that was not present elsewhere. He held it next to Bitboy's stillness and did not yet draw a line between them. He went out to the cargo bay in the early afternoon cycle. The cargo containers with the salt compounds and seed minerals needed a visual check. Iris could have run via sensors, but Cole needed the 2 minutes of dark and silence and mechanical purpose. He moved between the containers in the cold. The cargo bay ran a few degrees below the rest of the ship, and the chill settled into his joints the way it always did, finding the old places first. He read the seals. He listened to the hum of the ship doing what ships do at speed. He finished the check and walked back toward the bridge. He passed through the galley on the way. Heavy was at the counter, doing something with a spoon and a container of something that was almost certainly not on the manifest. Bitboy was on the overhead rail, the position he occupied when a room had recently held a specific kind of weather. Taylor was in here, Cole said. Came in, sat down, stared at the wall for about 4 minutes, Heavy said. Then Iris said something directly in his ear, and he left his skin behind. He stirred whatever was in the container, left immediately after, walked very quickly. Bitboy looked at Heavy. Heavy set the spoon down. He regarded the doorway Taylor had exited through. Tomorrow, he said, that man wakes up and eats the best breakfast of his entire life. His eggs are perfect. His coffee is perfect. Best morning he's ever had. He picked the spoon back up. I'm serious. He's gonna remember it. Cole looked at Bitboy. Bitboy looked back at the flat with the flat amber attention that meant he agreed completely and had nothing to add. Cole kept walking. Taylor was waiting for him. Not physically waiting. He was at his console, doing something that looked like work, but he turned the moment Cole entered, which meant he'd been listening for the door, which meant he knew Cole had been in the cargo bay. Whether he knew anything more than that was what Taylor wanted Cole to wonder. I owe you an apology, Taylor said. No, you don't. I blamed the chimp. You called it correctly. Cole sat at his station. Forget it. Taylor moved toward the center console, putting himself in Cole's peripheral vision, close enough to be heard without the room. You know, I've been reviewing the logs from the Polaris mission. Your mission. Cole tapped through his readouts. 369 crew members, Taylor said. That's a weight a person either carries or gets buried by. Is there something you need from me? I'm trying to understand what I'm working with. You spent 5 years in a mountain cabin. He let the cabin part sit for a moment. I've read the psych assessments. Voluntary isolation, high functioning avoidance. He built a very convincing case that you were fine. Cole turned and looked at him directly. Taylor, you appointed yourself judge, jury, and executioner. Sentenced yourself to 5 years and served it. And now you're here, and I can't tell if you're back or if you brought the sentence with you. Taylor's voice was neutral. Not kind, not cruel. Simply accurate the way that a blade is accurate. That's not a personal observation. It's a command risk assessment. If you're still in the cabin, I need to know. Cole held his gaze for exactly long enough. Run your assessments, he said. Let me know what you find. He turned back to his station. From the corner of his eye, he caught Bitboy, who was seated against the starboard wall. Chimp's dim blue eyes were on Taylor and did not move. Taylor went back to his console. She had been waiting for the effect to arrive, and she recognized it when it did. Day 4 had been monitoring it since day 1, not logging it, watching the way she watched most things. The crew was experiencing it differently. Bitboy was still at nothing, was going still at nothing, his LED eyes cycling through colors that didn't correspond to anything in the room. Heavy, talking to himself in the galley in a voice he didn't know she could hear. Cole, going very still in periods he thought were private. She had started calling it the Iris effect internally, though she suspected it was less Iris and more Dark X. The way a room that smells like something isn't the room you're remembering. The way a room that smells like something isn't the room you're remembering. I'll take a note on that one. That's a stupid line. All right. Excuse me. She had the ventilation panel off and was running secondary environmental diagnostics. Real work. She also needed something to do with her hands. The effect, when it reached her, was familiar. The shape of it still in the body before the mind catches up. She knew what this was. She knew the seams. She knew how to stay in a body that was receiving more information than it could process. He found Sam in the forward maintenance alcove 40 minutes later. She had a panel off the ventilation housing and was running diagnostics on the secondary environmental feed. Her toolkit was open on the deck beside her. There was also something else on the deck beside her, a MacRay device, rectangular, small enough to palm. Its indicator light was blinking at a slow, even interval. Sam looked up when Cole crouched down at the alcove threshold. Her eyes moved to the device and back to him in a way that didn't rush itself. She picked it up and put it in her breast pocket. It's receiving something, she said. I can't tell you the source yet. When I can, I will. Cole looked at where the device had been on the deck. He looked at Sam. All right, he said. She nodded and went back to the diagnostic panel. He stayed in the threshold for a moment. The dark matter, he said. You're not having trouble with it? No. You know what it is? I have some experience with this kind of interior weather. She ran in a calibration sequence. It's not comfortable. I'm just familiar with it. Give me a sheet of paper here if I have to write down some notes. Cole leaned against the alcove frame. Outside the small porthole at the far end of the corridor, the black ran in all directions without a visible edge. The ring, he said. The copper wire. Before launch. He had not said it to anyone, was not entirely sure why he was saying it now. Sam set down the calibration tool. Ricardo told me, she said. He gave her something to hold on to before you left. He told you about her. Yes, the flatness of it was its own information. She set down the tool and looked at him steadily. I'm sorry, Cole. He didn't answer. He looked out the porthole. The black held its position. Oh, I definitely need to write some notes here. He didn't answer. He looked out the porthole. The black held its position. I can't wait to meet her when we get back, Sam said. I bet you two are an adorable couple. Cole looked at her. The corner of his mouth moved. Not quite a smile, but close enough. Can't wait to introduce you, he said. Sam picked up her tool and went back to work. Cole pushed off the frame and headed back toward the bridge. At the corridor junction, he stopped. Sam? She looked up. When the source comes through, he said, don't wait. She held his eyes for a moment. I won't. 3 hours later, Sam found him at a nav console. She had the device in one hand and data pad in the other. She set the pad in front of him without preamble. Taylor's iris query log, she said. The system records. The system records every input, interaction, requests, derivatives, behavioral flags. You get his side, not Iris's response. She paused. His side is enough. Cole looked at the pad. The timestamps were mission accurate. Day 2, first entry, run continuous behavioral assessment on Nova, flag any changes in communication patterns, his interaction frequency with crew. If his behavior towards me shifts in any way, I need to know immediately, report daily. Second entry. Road incident departure. I need the contractor confirmed, neutralized before any outside contract was made. Confirm this. Third entry. Cargo situation. What does he currently know about the bay? I need his awareness level before we reach Saturn. I can't move until I know what he knows. Cole set the pad down. He looked at the porthole. Nothing out there had changed. How long have you had this? He said. Day 3, I had the behavioral flag. The road query came through this morning. She held his eyes. There's more. I can walk you through all of it. Show me all of it, he said. She'd given him the log without leverage, without asking for anything in return. He noted that. She sat down. The ship ran on. Bitboy was asleep in the crew chair, with 2 arms tucked under his head and 2 arms hanging loose. The indicator on his chest panel cycled green, and the hum of engines was the only thing between them and the rest of the dark. The reactor bay was the quietest part of the ship at the end of the day cycle. The hum there was lower, more foundational, not quite a sound as much as a frequency you felt in the soles of your feet. Sam sat against the cold metal wall, with her legs stretched out in front of her, watching the space where Heavy paced. He had been practicing for about 4 minutes. He was working something out. "You ever wonder," Sam said, "what the actual shape of this is? Not what we were told the shape was, the actual thing?" Heavy stopped. "What do you mean?" "I mean, we were handed a mission briefing and a set of objectives and a timeline, and those things were assembled by people who had their own objectives, their own timelines. And we are on the inside of something we only partly see. That's not unusual. Most people are on the inside of something they only partly see. I'm just wondering what we're in the middle of specifically." Heavy frowned. The question had lived in the back of his head for a while, and he had managed not to look at it directly. "You think we've been lied to?" "I think we've been given a specific portion of the truth, which is different from a lie, but it produces the same navigational problems." She looked at her hands. "What would you do if the mission turned out to be something other than what we signed on for?" Sam reached into her pocket. The macro device came out, small and flat in her hand. She pressed the lower left corner. A signal red pulse, then a signal red pulse, a single red pulse, then steady. "Iris can't hear us," she said. She looked at Ricardo. "That's the other thing it does." Heavy looked at the device. He looked at her. "How long have you—" "A while." She sat on the floor between them, indicator facing up. "I'll explain more when there's time. Right now, I want to know what you do." Ricardo considered it, genuinely without deflection. He sat down across from her. His voice had dropped half an octave, the low ease it only got when the stakes went up. His hands were steady. "Make sure everyone gets home," he said. "The objective, the brief, I don't care what those turn out to be. That's what I signed on for." He paused. He looked at her. "That includes you, by the way." Sam looked at him. The look had a precision to it, not a surprise. Registering, the kind of look you give something you've been waiting to confirm. "I know," she said. He held the look a beat longer than the sentence required. "Good." They sat with that for a moment. "Cole's not here," Heavy said. "No. He's been in the forward crew quarters since the second shift." Heavy's jaw tightened. "Something happened today." "I know," Sam said. She picked up the device and stood. "I need to find him." Cole was in the forward crew quarters, standing at the north porthole, with his back to the room when Sam knocked on the frame. The room was small enough that you couldn't pace it. 4 steps wall to wall. The bunk he hadn't made, the recycled air tasting the same way as every other room in the ship except colder because the ventilation duct above the bunk had never been calibrated right. He didn't turn around. "Come in." She closed the door behind her. She took the device from her pocket and pressed the lower left corner. The indicator pulsed on once and held steady. "Iris can't hear this room," she said. She sat on the shelf beside her, face up. "I wanted you to know that." Cole's hands had not moved from the porthole frame. He looked out at the black. "It's not a malfunction," he said. It wasn't a question. "No." Sam crossed the room, stood beside him. Not at the porthole, a step back, where he could feel her presence without having to look at it. Her voice was quieter than usual. "Cole, come sit down." Something in it was different from her standard register. He heard it. He turned around and looked at her face. He sat. Sam sat across from him. She gave it a moment, not building something, just making sure the ground was solid before she put weight on it. She leaned forward with her forearms on her knees. I picked up a message about an hour ago, she said. Same routing I've been tracking. I've been sitting with it for a while because I wanted to be sure before I came to you. She paused. It was about Sharon. Cole held her eyes. She was hurt, Sam said. They took her to an empty lot, dead suburb, nothing around. It was bad, Cole. She kept her voice steady, but she didn't empty it. There was something in it that acknowledged what she was saying and what it would cost to say it. The message said she didn't make it. The room was very quiet. Emily survived. That's confirmed. She was released. She's clear. Sam stayed with him in silence for a moment. Emily is okay. Cole said nothing for a long time. The ship hummed. He thought about the copper wire ring, the hummingbird feeder wire bent into shape, the small smooth pebble at the top. He had pressed it into her hand at the cabin driveway, and she had closed her fingers around it. He did not know where it was now. Then, very quietly, how? I don't know the details. The message was brief. He stood and went back to the porthole. He looked at the black. Whatever was happening on his face, he had turned away from her. She let him. Thank you, he said, his voice steady. She could see from the set of his shoulders that the steadiness was costing him something, and she did not remark on it. She stayed in the chair for a moment. She did not try to fill it. Take whatever time you need, she said. I'll be in the bay. She stood and put her hand on his arm briefly. Not a consolation, just an acknowledgement. Present. Real. She left. Cole stood in the room for a long time. He looked at his hands. He thought about the ring made of copper wire that he pressed into her hand on the driveway of the cabin, and he closed her fingers around it. And he said, and said, I will. He thought about the way she said his full name, Cole Nova, not as a joke exactly, but with the weight of someone who believed the name meant something. He thought about sitting on the porch watching the headlights come up the dirt road, not knowing yet that she was on her way. He had a list. He had learned, in the weeks after his father died, to keep a list of everything about a person that you did not want to forget. He had started the list for Sharon in his head already, had not known he was doing it until now. He pressed his fingers against the porthole glass. The cold of it came through immediately. Then he pushed off the wall and went to find Taylor. The bridge was running on minimal light at this hour. Taylor sat at the starboard console with a holoscreen open in front of him, and he had the posture of a man who was working but also listening for the sound of a specific door. When Cole came through the entryway, Taylor's hands did not stop moving. He did not turn around immediately. He gave it a beat. Captain, he said without looking. The word landed like a test. Cole moved to the center console and stood. He was not close enough to be threatening. He was close enough to be clear. He was aware with precision of the distance between himself and Taylor, of the console between them, of how long it would take to cross it. His body had already filed the assessment without being asked. He noted it in the way he noted a calculation. Not because he intended to act on it, but because he needed to know what it was saying. He had learned when his father died the slow, specific kind of death that teaches you more about grief than you ever wanted to know. That the first hours of it could arrive wearing the texture of rage. The two were almost indistinguishable if you weren't paying attention. He'd learned to pay attention, to build the list. First, what do I know? Second, what do I need? Third, in what order? The list was the lock. The lock was what kept the door closed. He had a list. He was building it. I have a question, Cole said. Taylor turned his chair, his face composed. Careful composition of a man who had decided in advance what kind of conversation this was going to be. Go ahead. Did you know she was in danger? Taylor's gaze held steady. He did not blink. He did not recalibrate. He had already decided his face was going to do, and it was doing that. We're all in danger, Cole. That's the nature of Sharon. Did you know? A pause. Taylor clasped his hands in his lap. What I know, he said, slowly, like he was choosing the weight of each word, is that this mission has more stakeholders than the crew manifest reflects, and that people who get caught between those stakeholders, people who are carrying information that more than one party wants, those people are at risk. Sharon was carrying information. Something moved through Cole that was faster than thought. He felt his weight shift to his front foot. He felt the distance across the console compress, and his body's own arithmetic into something achievable. He did not move. That's not an answer. That's the truest thing I can say to you right now. He met Cole's eyes without flinching. Sharon knew things about the delivery, about the crystals, about the people she was working with. People who know too much become liabilities in a war. This isn't a collective truth or an alpha truth. It's just what happens. Cole watched his face. He was watching for what had already happened, for what Taylor had known before Cole walked in here, for the shape of the gap between what Taylor said and what Taylor knew. He did not find it. Taylor was too careful, had too much practice, had already made the calculation that ambiguity served him better than a position. I'm going to find out exactly what happened, Cole said. I want you to know that. Taylor nodded. I would expect nothing less, he said. He said it without irony, and that was the most unsettling version of it. Cole turned to the communications panel. He reached for the relay controls, not because he expected them to work, but because he wanted to know. The screen blinked, and then went dark in the deliberate way of something that had been configured to not cooperate. He stood there for a moment. He looked at the dark screen. Iris, he said. Working, Iris responded. The reply came back a fraction of a second slower than usual. Open a relay channel to the Federation headquarters. Communications are experiencing an alignment issue at the current approach vector. Signal clarity is insufficient for. Log the attempt. Logged. Cole looked at Taylor. Taylor looked at Cole. Neither of them said what both of them were thinking. Cole walked out. Sam watched from the galley alcove. Understood the timing. Saturn approach. Maximum Dark X proximity. Maximum limbic exposure. Cole was at his most emotionally exposed, and someone had chosen this exact moment to let the information through. The collective's back channel, Sam's jammer, operating outside the Iris architecture, was the one pathway Taylor didn't control. But the timing was not accidental. Taylor had allowed the information to land now, when a distracted, grieving captain would make the kind of mistakes that made accidents look real. She filed it. She said nothing. The grief was a weapon, and she had just watched it deployed. Yeah, this doesn't happen yet. Nope, 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 nope. It's supposed to be in a later chapter. All right, so I'll just yell at Claude about that piece right there being moved. So that's chapter 8 right there. Cole learns of the death of Sharon at the most inopportune time, right? Being used weaponized against him to kind of knock him off his feet. Crazy. Hey, what's up? Believe in yourself. Good to see you, bud. All right, so apologies for the first 6 minutes of this right here. Eventually we'll get into YouTube and edit it and stuff, but right now that is chapter 8 of Rings of Dust. Hope you guys enjoyed that. Like I said, if you want to know more about the crypto project that this book is related to and inspired, go to agproject.io and connect your wallet, get some darker matter tokens, mint some fuel cells, and join the collective, join the space cult. And you can check out our cool community, best community in crypto hands down, at t.me/antigravity saga. Thanks, kids. We will catch you on the next one. Ciao.